Welcome to the Creative Plan Podcast Network. Join us as we share our favorite RPGs, one-shot games, tabletop games, reviews of items, and convention panels, and other exciting things that we run into from time to time. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kellie, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion to Ragnarok story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and RPGpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
So welcome back to the Creative Flame Podcast Network. It is hashtag RPGaDAY2020. Joining me today is Kellie and Kerrie.
Hello!
Hello.
So are y'all ready for the last couple days of hashtag RPGaDay?
Yep, it's been quite a ride.
Yeah. So Kellie, what's the word of the day?
Well, Jim, that would be ride. R-I-D-E.
Well, let's just ride along here with the hashtag RPGaDay then.
Okay.
So Kerrie, you've been here before. You've done this before, right?
Yes.
So, hashtag RPGaDay2020, where we talk about little prompt words in regards to RPGs. I'm interested in what both of you guys are going to say this weekend for today, Ride, and tomorrow, the portal we jump through. So, who wants to start off for Ride?
I'll start. I can remember back when we started Journey of the 5th Edition and stuff.
And you see what I'm going to say. I'm going to be like...
No, probably not. And my halfling rogue, Tilda Wimblewick, aka Nimbleneck, aka Pinwee Pinchbiggle, aka Peewee. She so much wanted a riding war dog. She wanted to ride the war dog. She even named him, and she did eventually get one. But that's what she wanted. She wanted to be able to ride a war dog. His name was Slobber the Mutt. Tilda, that's what she wanted. She was like, she kept asking, so how would I get a riding dog? Because of course being a halfling, horse isn't necessarily the best choice. But yeah, she so wanted to ride a war dog. And eventually she got it.
She got her Slobber the Mutt.
She's got her ride.
And now she's ready for mounted combat.
Mm-hmm. I was also remembering our first foray into Journey of the 5th Edition. And, and we had the standard characters. And I was playing the folk hero that we named Galen the Gallant. But I remember that one time, like probably not too far into our 5th edition, when we were all riding along on that cart we got with the 2 oxen.
Oh, yeah, the oxen, Fanny and Bertram.
Fanny and Bertram, yeah. And we were just going along, minding our own business when those orcs attacked. Right?
Yeah.
And they killed Bertram.
I know, that was so sad.
And it was just like, and so we went all like psycho on their ass. And
I hunted down
particularly your character, Tilda.
Yeah.
You kept chasing after them until you finally caught up with them. And you were just like, read.
I was like Chucky or something, literally.
Yeah. And so then, of course, being the pragmatic quisters that we are, we, butchered and ate Bertram.
Hey, we didn't let him go to waste. We cried.
That's right, we did. But we were all like, salute to you, Bertram, and I was driving the cart since I had, like animal handling and stuff like that, and And I always remembered that little ride we took in that cart with Bertram and Fanny.
Poor Bertram.
I
Aw.
know. He did good. And we still had Fanny, who I believe we said was pregnant, Bertram's child.
Yes, because, pour one out for our hubby.
Aww. So for me, I want to point out the little used feat in D&D, because we all know in 5th, feats aren't as important, so people usually will skip over them as opposed to the bonuses. But if anyone is interested, because a lot of people look over this one and just don't look at it, there is a feat called Mounted Combatant that it makes you a more dangerous foe while mounted. Paladins pretty much will be the ones that look at this, especially since they get to summon mounts as part of their class. That when you are mounted and not incapacitated, you gain the following benefits. You have advantage on melee attack rolls against unmounted characters that are smaller than your mount. And most mounts, got to be large size. So automatically, if you're on a mount, you have advantage on beating somebody up with a weapon. You can force an attack targeted at your mount to target you instead. So
Cool.
that paladin in full armor with that AC of 19, instead of letting his horse get attacked, he can take the attack himself. And if your mount is subjected to an effect that allows it to make a dex saving throw for half damage, like a fire breath, it takes no damage if it succeeds and half if it fails. So mounted combat feat is definitely a good thing to think about picking up if you want to get better at avoiding, fireballs and things as well, because your mount can, suck it up, Buttercup. Because, you name your mount Buttercup, and there you go. And, another thing, too, a lot of folks forget when you're mounted that you get the advantage of once you mount, it basically takes all of your movement to get on and off a mount under your own control. You can, of course, be forcibly dismounted, which sucks. But, once you are mounted, that you can use your maneuver to use the beast's maneuver instead, which basically will give you a big boost because most mounts have 40 to 50 movement speed.
Oh,
cool.
So for riding, just make sure you're riding vehicles because, riding stuff can be fun. Especially if it's, something flying, because that's just crazy pants fun.
or if you have really bad athletics, and, riding in a cart is so much better than riding on a horse.
True. That is very true. And unless it's a bumpy road, you could have archers in carts like they used to do with chariots. That ranger could jump in the chariot with the other player pulling the vehicle and have free maneuvers.
Shotgun?
He can have free maneuvers and shoot the crap out of people because that's what they used to do in the old days back for reals.
Are you not entertained?
So pretty much that's one of the rules in most RPGs that's pretty rough is the writing rules. So it's one of those of like in Star Wars, they've got the vehicle writing rules. So just make sure you read your rules. I will shamelessly throw it out there that in the D&D Player's Guide, it's on page 198 for the rules on mounted combat. And it's just like in some of our games where folks give people mounts just so I can see the mounted combat rules in play as a GM. If you don't give your players mounts, they won't get on mounts and use them. So as a GM, do not be afraid of rewarding your players with mounts as reward. Because we all know in all the classic fantasy things or the Western things, people are riding up on their mounts or their motorcycles or whatnot to get from place A to place B.
And they're expensive in game.
And they are ridiculously expensive. So much like in the classic Ben-Hur, you can always be the
original, not the remake.
Yep, only the original, not the remake. You can be running into a guy who breeds horses like children and, wants to see the best rider with the best horses to say, yeah, players, here, have some horses. It's almost like we may have done that in one of our recent games.
Very recently, yes.
That's why that example came to mind so well of GMs, give your players mounts. Don't worry, you can always kill them later. And much like the story of Bertram and his, dead sibling, that, you're...
No, Bertram's the dead one.
Bertram died.
Yeah.
Annie, and they're not siblings. They were a couple.
Much like NPCs, mounts can be something that your players become endeared with because, they have their own personalities.
Exactly. Slobber the Mutt is a friend, not just a ride.
So, anything else you guys got for ride? Ride
Well,
free or
who doesn't
die?
imagine their characters riding off into the sunset, with all their loot and their heroic deeds, heading to the tavern to tell all.
Oh,
True.
definitely. That's always the way I usually see so many adventures end is you're leaving the dungeon, riding off into the sunset, leaving the dungeon behind. And then, of course, you get the ominous camera pans back at the dungeon, and then something spooky happens to remind you that the dungeon is still there. You slayed the dragon, and then in the corner, hidden away up on a nook, is an egg that starts to crack open.
Exactly.
Because, 80s horror movies taught us that. It is not an overdone trope.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so I guess we'll ride on from there. Okay, so that's a good place to wrap it up for hashtag RPGaDAY2020, August the 29th. Ride.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. And feel free to enjoy our other shows, such as D&D Journey of the 5th Edition and Scion Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion hero to Ragnarok story. Thank you for listening.
Welcome back.
So, welcome back yourself to hashtag RPGaDAY2020.
Yay!